What has been the most surprising or unexpected experience during your PhD?
During my PhD, when I was in second year or above, COVID started.
One word to describe the life of a PhD student.
Stressful as well as enjoyable.
How did your journey into this field begin?
That time I was in +2, and physics was interesting, but I was not getting that punch. Today there are modern tools like ChatGPT, but they are not that helpful in some sense.
If your research was a food, what would it taste like?
I would say Rasagulla. To all the researchers out there, or people who are aspiring to be a researchers out there, I would say if you are not well, if you are not fine, if you are not fit, you cannot be a good researcher.
Hello everyone, welcome to our podcast series. With this series, we want to reach out to those aspiring minds which think about the life and journey of a PhD student. We are glad to have Dr. Swastik join us today for a friendly chit chat about his early career and life lessons. About his educational background, Dr. Swastik did his schooling mostly from Assam and North Bengal. He completed his graduation from Scottish Church College and did his masters from University of Hyderabad, after which he joined Indian Institute of Astrophysics to pursue his PhD. He has recently completed his PhD and is about to move to Italy to work as a postdoctoral fellow at the University of Milan. His research focuses on the direct imaging of exoplanets and analysis of protoplanetary disks. Hello, Dr. Swastik. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really happy that I could be a part of your show.
So, first of all, congratulations on becoming a doctorate.
Thank you so much.
So, how are you feeling now, like transiting from your PhD life to becoming a postdoctoral fellow?
Well, it's like I'd say, like from professional point of view, it's not something that it's completely new. The research that I was doing so far, I'm continuing on that. Mostly the group and all that I've been working for. So from a professional point of view, it's just a change of place, and that's it. But from a mental perspective, it's a lot. PhD, as you know, it's quite like it's a professional degree, and you have to work for it. There are university regulations one has to follow. Kind of, I'm a little light. I'm like, to be honest, I'm a little bit on a vacation mode for the last few weeks, and that's definitely, I'd say, like I'm quite relaxed after getting the doctorate in some sense.
That's nice. So, Swastik, what inspired you to pursue a PhD in astrophysics, and how did your journey into this field begin?
I would say like this question I have been facing for the past 3-4 years from the time I joined for my PhD. I think this comes from I actually attended one of an astrophysics seminar long back by one of like the past director of Birla Museum in Kolkata, and that time I was in a small city, small town, Alipurduar, and he came in. He gave a talk on. I mean, it was a popular talk, but that he showed us some pictures. If I remember correctly, the Horsehead Nebula and like the pillars of creation and all. And the way he presented, his name is Devi Prasad Dwari. He was the ex-director of Birla Museum in Birla Planetarium, sorry, in Kolkata. And from his talk, somewhat I got a little bit of inspiration about astrophysics. It's a different field altogether. Like that time I was in +2. I mean, physics was interesting, but I was not getting that punch. But then after listening to his talk, I spoke with him how to get into this field. He said like you have to have a master's in physics or mathematics, and it's all science behind it. And from there I started like, okay, this is a thing that I can proceed. I was not much interested into medicine or engineering from the beginning. Somehow it's like didn't I mean, I was not able to I tried my best at developing interest for them, but I could not. But then I could say a turning point in my career, and then I decided, okay, I should take up physics, and then gradually, like I completed my masters, and then ended up taking up a PhD in astrophysics.
Interesting. So, as we all know, PhD journey is full of ups and downs. Some days bring excitement when things go well, while other days can feel tough and slow. So it's very important to find ways to keep a balanced life. So Swastik, how did you handle your mental and physical health during this roller coaster journey?
Well, that's an interesting question, and to be honest, there have been ups and downs, to be honest. And PhD itself, I would say, it's not as stressful as it sounds, but comparatively, there are stresses in every profession. I believe, like doctors, if you compare doctors, if you compare engineers, any other profession, if you look into it, there is stresses. Even in our PhD, also there is stress. There is always a pressure of finish writing proposals, deadlines, and all these things. But at the same time, at this stage, I believe work-life balance is very important because see, PhD takes about in India, typical time for PhD is about 5 years, and that's a peak period. Like most people do their PhD between 23 to 28, 29 years of age, and I would say like taking rest, taking break, going on vacations is actually improves your productivity. It reduces the stress, in my opinion. I mean, people say, oh, I mean, you are taking a break and you are not doing your work. I think it's equally important to work hard. It's also equally important to take breaks. Breaks are actually stress busters in some sense. If you do not take breaks, if you keep continuously working, you might end up losing your productivity, although your working hours might increase, right? So dealing with stress is like, one thing is like you have to like see mental health and physical health are somehow interconnected. I mean, although I'm not a doctor, I'm not a physician, but what I believe is like there have been studies which have shown like people who are physically fit, like people who go do exercises and all, for them mental health issues can I mean, of course it's not like one-to-one linked, but that can reduce in some sense. In my opinion, one has to give time to that. Other than research, research should be like, okay, if I'm doing for 8 hours of my work, I have to dedicate some hours to my physical health as well as mental health, thinking about that. Also, work-life balance is important. Talking to parents, having a good family relations, whatever stage you are in, it is very important, because if only work, if you keep on doing it, it will actually, I mean, you won't enjoy the entire part of life. Of course, research is just one part of life. It's not the entire life in some sense. There are personal relations, friends, families. Like in my life in IIA, I would say like there have been breaks, there have been lot of interesting feats, and I really enjoy them. Today, if you ask me, of course, at some point of time, I was stressful with my work, but that stress was elevated by my friends with whom I went for a trek or something like that. So that's how I used to deal with my stress. I was not like in a very related to my work, of course. I was not like too stressful, because IIA provides an environment to its students and all that like there are a lot of activities out there. Even in Bhaskara, the place where we used to stay, there are like cultural activities and programs and all. So in some way the environment is quite friendly, although I will not say like completely stress free, but compared to other places I believe that IIA takes care of its students so that the stress and all the things, the mental health issues are taken care of. So in that way, yeah, I mean, I never had gone through such stressful situations, to be honest, thanks to IIA.
That was very insightful. Yeah, sometimes we forget that we have to take break from our work. So I have a follow-up question about like from your from what you answered now. So if you could make one significant change to the PhD program in India, what would it be, and how would you justify it?
That's a very difficult question to answer, but in my opinion, see, currently the selections are based on national level exams, right? Even I got through national level exam, to be honest. Now the problem with this national level exams is like their syllabus and their pattern is like quite standardized. So it's like even I think for most exams, like you look into other national level exams other than NET and all, you have IIT JEE, you have NEET, you have UPSC. These exams follow a definite pattern. So some, of course, you need to study the subject and understand. But let's say I'm interested in astrophysics. To clear this exam, you need to have good knowledge of all the fields. The problem is that somebody might be a good researcher in a particular. In my case, for example, I'm good in, let's say, mathematical physics, but I don't like solid state physics. But if I'm not equally good in all these subjects, I might not be able to clear the entrance exams that are required for getting a PhD in India. In abroad, the point is like they look into your publications or your statement of purpose or your internships. Yes, you can keep the national exams in India, but I think there should also be scope for people who are doing internships who have published papers. I think that should also be taken into account as an entry point. See, because if you keep only, so these days it's too rigorous. You have to clear either CSIR or you have to clear JEST or you have to clear GATE. GATE means within first 200 ranks you have to be there, I think, for IAA, if I'm not wrong. And also like TIFR and other institutes. So I think that is a challenge. If somebody who, after completing the master's, goes for an internship, publishes a paper, but doesn't get time so much to pursue, like prepare for CSR and all, that person loses time and might not get a PhD in India. So I think that needs to be changed. Some, I would not say reservation, but some system has to be there to take into account of the internships that people do. And if the person has a published paper, let's say the entry point could be like, if you have a published paper in a reputed journal, let's say you can set an impact. Let's say if you have a paper in an impact factor of more than 2 or 3, or you clear one of the national level exams, then you are eligible for interview. Then at the interview stage, you would know like who is actually deserving candidate and who is not. But here, when somebody has a paper, you are not even calling that person for interview. That I think is not right. So in my opinion, if possible, I would like to make that change. That is there. I don't support removing entirely these national level exams. They are necessary, but there should also be a scope for people who have publications during their internships and masters. So I think that's one of the change I would like to bring if I am ever able to do it.
That was really interesting. And so let's lighten the things up a bit
Yes.
with a fun rapid fire round. So I'll be asking you a bunch of questions and you have to answer instantly.
Okay.
Ready?
Yes.
Okay. If you weren't a scientist, what would you be?
Chef.
One word to describe the life of a PhD student.
Stressful as well as enjoying.
The first word that comes to mind when you think of your PhD thesis.
I finished it. Okay, I have to say it for what, right?
Yeah.
Done.
Okay. What's your H2O?
Phone, I would say.
No, phone, okay. That's good. Dedicate 2 or 3 words to describe IIA.
Grateful. I'm really grateful. Supportive.
Awesome. Okay, some more general questions.
Yes.
What has been the most surprising or unexpected experience during your PhD?
That's like, to be frank, I actually, during my PhD, when I was in second year or a half, COVID started, right? And there are 2 aspects to it, I would say. Like, one is there were people with whom I was not that friendly in Bhaskara or in my hostel. Not that friendly, I would say. I mean, they were seniors and all, people with whom I just used to have professional contact, or let's say hi, hello, that's it. But the COVID started, everybody was sad, upset. We didn't know how many days we were going to stuck. And during that time, actually, I created a very strong bond with a lot of people. A lot of my seniors, a lot of my juniors and all. So I think that was not expected. If COVID had, COVID has taken a lot of lives. There were a lot of tragedies. I'm not glorifying what COVID has done to humanity. But the point is, at that time, since we were in a closed environment, I was able to develop a lot of bonds and friendships. Second aspect of is like I applied for ESO studentship during that time. I think the first selection panel I did not get. The second panel, I think it was cancelled because of COVID, because you cannot travel, right? And that was there. Somehow at that time I felt like, okay, it's a loss for me. I'm not able to travel, right? If I would have gone there, life would have been different. But then I stayed back here, and that was unexpected. I was able to continue my collaboration. I was able to do much better work than I would have actually gone there and done it. So in that way, of course, in terms of publications, research, even getting into postdocs also, the connections and all. So I think that was also unexpected. I didn't expect like things would continue at that stage. I thought like, okay, at that time I had only 1 publication. So I thought maybe it's COVID also. It was not very easy to work. And I thought like, okay, with 1 more publication, I'll be submitting the papers. But luckily, things turns out to be good. I could not go there, but then it was in some way, I would say, positive. I was able to give my full focus on work here, staying alone in the room and working. The peace of mind of working was I didn't expect that, and that turned out to be like quite good for me. So I think that was another unexpected turn during my PhD. Making new friends with strong connections, as well as research that I never expected to do. So I think these are the two things I would give credit to.
So, like one question related to your research field. So, what excites you most about the future of exoplanet research and astrophysics as a whole?
Okay, to summarize this, I would say like finding an Earth-like planet. That's the main goal right now. So all the methods that we use for exoplanet detections, like transit, radial velocity, direct imaging, the main goal is like finding an Earth-like planet, Earth-like habitable planet, right, where human life or life on Earth, these kind of lives can sustain. That's the direction in which the field is moving. Although we have detected around more than 5,500 planets so far, still now we are actually not even close to detect Earth-like planets or even life. Life is like a even further question. The ultimate goal, like I think for most astronomers, is to find life somewhere else in the universe, or if aliens exist or not. That's the ultimate goal, I think, for most of us as a researcher. But right now, the problem in hand is detecting at least a planet, if not life, which is similar to our Earth. So my research goals right now, I work mainly on direct imaging. I don't work much on the instrument aspect, to be honest. I work mainly on the science aspects, meaning to say like I do not build instruments. I work on the data that instruments give. But right now, my priorities are like to have collaborations with instrument scientists so that we can actually detect Earth-like planets. Our instruments are not currently sensitive to detect Earth-like planets. Why? Because Earth, if you compare it with Sun, it's much smaller. So Sun, if you observe Sun from a large distance, let's say like quite a far distance, you would only see the Sun. You would not see the Earth because Earth is a very tiny dot in that. So achieving that contrast ratio is currently is very challenging, and that's where we are all moving in this field, so that we are able to detect such kind of planets. So that's my long-term research goal. Short term, I would say like right now detecting more planets. That's like and also like not only planets, I also work on protoplanetary disks. We don't get to detect planets always. So if not planet, at least protoplanetary disks or disks with planet. They are like the birthplace or cradle where planets are forming. So that's like my current research goal.
Okay, so like how many planets can you, like an approximate number, have so far been discovered, like in the outside the solar system?
Right now, we have 5,500 planets confirmed detections, and we also have like couple of 500 to 700 planets which are in the candidate list. Meaning to say, they are not 100% confirmed whether you have planets or not. They are like you need more follow-up observations from them. So confirmed, there are 5,500, and there are some, let's say, roughly 500 to 700 which are candidates. So even if you take the odds out, like let's say 300 of them are even planets, and let's say remaining of them are false positive, still you have like almost 5,500 plus some numbers. You can add like 5,800, roughly 6,000. I believe by the end of this year we will cross the 6,000 mark, hopefully, detecting number of planets. So right now, detecting planets, like when you have such a high number, detecting itself is interesting, but then understanding how these 6,000 planets are, where do they lie in the population space, why so far, like there are planets which are interesting, like hot Jupiters and all, you do not see it in our solar system. So now the statistics is also important. See, when you have 10 planets, you can't do statistics, but when you have 6,000 planets detected, you can actually understand the pattern of how these planets are, where do they lie, and what are the, like what could be the possible formation mechanism, and that's on what I work on mostly.
Okay, yeah. Okay, some more fun questions.
Okay.
If your research was a movie, what would its title be?
Planet hunting.
What's a weird habit you have developed during PhD?
Weird habit. I would say like when I'm doing something on calculations or programming that do not require 100% attention, I could do it, like, or copy pasting something. I would play a music or a movie in my tab and just keep working. So I think that's quite a weird habit. I think one should always concentrate when doing their research, but I think that's a habit I've developed. So yeah.
Human nature.
Yes.
If you could have a superpower that would help you with your research, what would it be?
I think writing. Research has been always not that painful for me. I think I was able to do it. But writing is something that I usually get stuck with. Not stuck with, but it takes a lot of time to write and frame and actually express your things that are there. Right? Today there are modern tools like ChatGPT and all, but they are not that helpful in some sense if you see it. I think if I would have a superpower, I would have I would have only focused on the research. The superpower would have taken care of the writing part. That would have helped me a lot, I believe, in my research.
Yeah. That's what everyone wants. If you had to teach your subject to aliens, what
Yes.
would be the weirdest part to explain?
Well, the way we do mathematics, it would be the weirdest part, I would say. Most of the things that we do in astrophysics is like we only have light source. We do not have anything else. Like for all the astronomers who work in galaxy, exoplanet, whatever, we only have light source, and from there we infer everything. So I believe that feeling itself, not only to aliens, even to normal human beings also, when we say like the age of this galaxy is this years, we say the age of this planet is this years. To a normal human being, they might think, okay, you are doing this. But what we actually have is just the light source from there. That itself is quite weird to me. Like only from the light, we are able to tell everything. Age, composition, what is the dynamics, what is the rotation, what is that. Just, I feel it weird, like just from light source. Just light, you have nothing else. You just split the light using a spectra or prism, but at the end of the day, you have just light coming from a tiny dot. So I think that's quite weird, even to aliens, even to normal human beings also. I think like that's quite weird to me. Even when I do research, sometimes we get too evolved with research. Like it's human nature. We lose the bigger picture when we are doing it. Like when I'm calculating what's the disk size and all these things. At the end of the day, it's there out in the space, far away from us, like roughly, depends on what your object is. But it's so far that we can never reach. Still we study it and we only get light from it, and we are inferring everything from there. So that I think is quite weird as well as exciting.
Yeah. If your research was a food, what would it taste like?
Well, that's I would say Rasagulla as a Bengali, but yeah, I think it's a mixture. It's I would say I work on most statistics. I work on planet formation. I studied a couple of other works also. They were not complete. So I would say it's a three-course meal in some sense, that you have all flavors. Some part of it is interesting. Some part of my research might not be that interesting to you. You might think, oh, gee, he just took some planets and did some statistics. So I believe and the part where I am detecting new planets, that I feel is more interesting. I personally feel that's more interesting than the statistics part. So I think it's like, it has combination of everything. You have little bit of spice, you have little bit of sweet, you have little bit of salt. So I think it's a complete
meal.
Yeah, complete meal, I would say.
Yeah, that's nice. Okay, so we will end our podcast here with the last question. So what advice would you give to the students or young researchers interested in pursuing a career in astrophysics?
Well, I would say you have to work honest. It's very important. Honesty is the most important thing. Hard work is important, but at the same time, you should know the direction of the work you are doing. Just putting labor and hard work might not be the only solution. It's important to acknowledge the problem, understand the problem. If you talk about researchers, it's equally important to collaborate. See, we are all human beings. We have all our limitations. You might be good in something which I might not be, and I might be good in something which you might not be. Research, I mean, if you see big research groups in any field, if you look into it, not only astronomy or something like that, it all depends on we are all here for science. It's not for individual benefits. We don't do science for individual benefits. We do it for the greater good of humanity. And I think collaboration is very important. As a researcher, collaborating with different researchers, knowing their ideas, exchanging ideas are very important. I believe that's one of the aspects. Honesty, as I said before, is very important. You have to be honest with your research. You cannot manipulate or cheat or something like that. That's not at all accepted. Even if it takes time, getting a good result, you should always stick to the moral principles that are there. There's something known as ethics in research that is very important. You should always adhere to that, I believe. Even if you have a less paper, that doesn't matter. What matters is like how honest you are in your work. And at the same time, I would say stress is a very dangerous thing. I believe stress kills a lot of time. People believe like, okay, if I work continuously, stressfully, I think I'll be able to do a lot of work. But it actually kills your long-term productivity. I would say mental and physical health is the most important thing. That's the topmost priority. Even me as a researcher, that's the topmost. If you are not well, if you are not fine, if you are not fit, you cannot be a good researcher. So I think take care of your health, like the three fundamental things: eat well, sleep well, drink well. That's what I think that's the most important thing. Life is the most precious thing. Research and whatever thing you do in life, that comes, I'd say, in the second priority. First is your health. If you are good in health, you can do anything in life. So that's what, to all the researchers out there, don't stress yourself. Take care of your health.
Thank you, Swastik. That was the quote of the day. It was really an interesting conversation, and it was a pleasure to hear about your PhD journey and learn from your experiences and perspectives. And thank you to all of you for joining us today. And we will see you at our next episode. So stay tuned.